Greetings, Pilgrims. Welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and today I've got something pretty cool to share with you. We are starting to break into doing some of the Fortnite stuff. I know you guys have been asking a lot about that, and it is a battle royale game, so we're going to be doing some of that. And I wanted to start off with something pretty neat, and I really like the way that they do their item tooltips. So today we're going to be creating that. So let me show you what happens here. I'm in my world, and I run over to the object, and boom, we have some cool little tooltips here. And I can show you we've got all kinds of different ones, and they show up based upon what their rarity is, and we've got all kinds of options here. So I'm going to go over with you all that you need to make these for yourself. I will provide the script that makes these work, provide the 2 images that we need to make this work, and I'm going to show you all the steps involved in the middle. Okay? So let's go ahead and break it down and take a look at what we've got. Now, let me bring up Photoshop and let's talk about all the different things that we're going to do here. So I'm going to open up a project I was working on. Here's the presentation. So here's everything that we've created. All right. Now you'll notice that here are 2 objects in the world. And if I zoom in on this and take a look, we have a couple of things. We have the words pickup here. We have a letter that we're going to have here for what letter do we want to press on the keyboard to activate this. There is a color that is based upon its rarity. So this is a legendary item, so it's this color. Whereas over here, this is a rare item, so this is its color, okay? We have the name of the object, which is here. We have its rarity written out, as well as the color. We have the type of item it is. Is it a weapon? Is it a pickup? And then we have the amount of the object there. So for a weapon, it'd be 1. For other things, you'd have, ammo, you'd have more numbers. So going down the list, let me just... I guess I could hide this, but let me show you here. So first up, we have the item name. So here, whatever you type here will show up right here, okay? So for this object, I typed the word sniper in here. Then for the item type, you can call it a weapon, you can call it, a pickup, a consumable, whatever you write here is what will show up here, all right? Then we have the rarity. Now the rarity is interesting because it is a drop-down list, which is really cool. I'm going to show you how to create those. So this drop-down list, it will change this text and it will choose the color that you've supplied here. So you can see all of these colors here that you set up in advance for your different rarities. And I'll show you how you can add more if you want to. It will automatically look up from this list that you predefine in advance, and it will change it based upon that. So that's pretty cool. Then we have the item amount, which is just going to change this number at the end here, how many of this item per pickup. So you could have like a pack of 3 items or a pack of 100, whatever. Then we have our pickup button text. So this is the actual text, the letter that you want to appear in this box. And I'll show you how we can change that as well. Then here, the whole thing that is the actual widget, the actual tooltip widget is this entire thing. So this object we're putting down is a FN underscore, so Fortnite underscore pickup item. And it's going to use this widget that we're going to create together, and I called it an item pickup WUI, so it's a world user interface. Then we have one final thing here is we have to supply it a handle to the image, and the actual image we're going to use here, I'll show you how we're going to use that, but then be able to color it any way we want. So let's go over here to this one and take a look. This is an image captured directly from the game, and you can see I broke it down into what are the major categories, and no, this is not going to be a direct copy because that's boring. We're going to create our own, we're going to make it awesome, so we're just kind of studying it for a little bit. So what I broke this down is there's 2 sections, a left and a right. In the left section we have the words pickup, we have this little shape, and we have a letter. So to accomplish that, I created this, which you might not be able to see, but it is covering just that little section around the F there, okay? So it's a whole image, but it just has that on there. Then we have 2 versions of the right-hand image, pardon me. So there's a solid color, you have an option for that, or you have this like gradiated one, and I like the gradiated one better. So with those 2 images saved out, and you'll have to download them, and I'll show you how to drag and drop them into the project, we're ready to go into Unity and start scripting and start working on things. So if you look at these guys in the world, let's take the sniper here, for example. They're all going to look like this at first because this is just the one that I had while I was creating it. So if I drag, I think it's just one of these into the world. Yeah. See, it just looks like that. It says weapon, light bullets, because I was just trying to figure it out, right? And then if you drag the finalized one, let's see. This was the old one. See, as I was working it out, just kind of getting the prototyping down. And now we have our pickups. We have our actual items here. And I'll show you how to create those. It's really super easy. So let's take this guy and we'll look at him. So I named him Weapon Sniper. And this is just an empty game object, okay? And at this level, you attach this script. And the script will be available for download, but I'm going to show it to you and explain kind of how it works. We just attach this script and then you just fill everything in. So give it a name. What do you want this to be named? So let's call this Cool Sniper. Okay, I want to show you the changes that we're making. And for the weapon, let's do ranged weapon instead of just weapon. And we'll make it an epic quality. So that means it'll be this color here because it's going to choose that. Item amount is only going to be 1. And let's say the letter Z is what you use to pick this up for whatever reason. Now, you would set this to be for all of your objects the same letter because that's what you want. And I've already attached that it's looking for this widget. And then here, the item background, I'm using the background image. I'm just showing you how it works right now, and then we'll build it together in just a second. So now let's hit play. And I'm going to run over to my sniper in the back, and look at that. It's a cool sniper. It's a ranged weapon. Now, you'll notice a couple of things that we have to work out is some of the spacing will have to be dynamic. That'll be probably for the pro version of the asset pack. And this ranged weapon, I just have to increase the size of that text area so it will overflow this way instead of this way. But we proved the point that we can change it to be anything we want. And also, this also always faces the camera. That's another script that we're going to look at as well. So now let's go ahead and build it, okay? So to build this, we're going to start with, again, as we said, a blank object in the scene. So I'm going to say right-click, empty object, and let's call this ToolTips, okay? There we go. And I'm going to put him at the origin just to make everything easier for positioning. So he's actually going to be here. He's kind of under the ground at my feet. So don't worry about that. Let's bring this guy a little bit closer so we can use him as a reference while we're building this. Okay, so here's our ToolTips right here in the ground. So there he is. So he needs the script. So let's go to our script. So we go pickups, and we need the item manager script. And I need to put it on this guy. Just drag and drop. There you go. And here's how it comes in. So I need to give it a bunch of information here. So I'm going to give it a name, ToolTips tutorial. I want to give it uncommon. So let's go to uncommon and just give it a color. You need to change all of these to whatever colors you would like for your game. So these are totally customizable. You just click here, click and drag and say, this looks good. So you can choose whatever you like here. I'm just going to pick some random ones here so that we have something of interest to look at. There we go. Item amount, I'm just going to put 1 in there, and let's hit T for tutorial to pick it up. Sounds good. The rest of this stuff we're going to have to fill in as we create it. Okay. So if we open up our example 1 here, you'll see that we've got a couple of things here. And we have 2 main categories. We have the offset base, and then we have underneath of that, the actual offset. Now, what are these? So the offset base, you'll notice, is also at a transform of 0, 0, 0. That means it'll be sitting at the origin of this object. And you'll notice that it has a script on here called look at camera. And it has a target that it will look up for itself. Let's take a look at that look at camera script. I think that's in here. No, he's in the scripts folder. Look at camera. Let's take a look at him and see what's going on with him. So look at camera is very simple. It's only 19 lines, including all the stuff at the top, okay? So you have a public transform of target. What is the thing we want to look at? Well, that's the camera, right? So we're going to find the object in the scene here that has a tag main camera. Sounds good. And in update, we're going to do something interesting. We're going to say, let's create vector 3 target position. Let's create a brand new imaginary position. And where are we going to put this imaginary position at? At the X position of my target, at the Z position of my target, but at the Y position of this, which means whatever this script is attached to. So X of target, Z of target, Y of me, and then this dot look at target position. Okay? So I'm going to look at this position, which means I'm going to stay where I'm at, but I'm going to look on these other 2 axes, and it will just help it spin around. Okay? Very cool. So that's all we need to do for that. Now, with that all set, let's go back to the pickup so we can look at everything here. Yeah. With that all set, our offset base is at 0, with this script because that's the thing that's going to spin. But then if you go to this WUI offset, you'll notice here, the WUI offset for this is where you want this thing to appear. So this one is a little bit up here. My sniper was actually a little bit higher up and over. And then if you want closer to it like this, these items, you can see how much closer it is to there. So if I go to the sniper here, and if I move this offset now, you'll see this is the actual offset that is going to be where it appears. So if I put it like right above it, and I hit play, now I'm right next to it, and you'll see that it's right above it, and it spins to look at the camera the whole time. Very cool, right? So you can determine if you want it off to the right, off to the left, below it, above it, whatever you want. That's this WUI offset object. So we have the base object, right, where we put the script and everything. Then we have UI offset base, and that's a 0, and you just put the look at script on here. It will automatically find the camera that is main camera. So all you have to do is make sure that your camera in the scene, for a third person setup here, my camera is following my character. I have additional scripts to do that, so don't worry about that. But the actual camera has to have the tag of main camera, and then it will follow that always and look at it. Very cool. Okay, so we're not going to bother with this. I'm just going to show you guys how they work, and you just apply the scripts. You'll be just fine. So with those two, let's open up this again. You'll see that there's another object inside of here. This is one of the prefabs that I made, and I'm going to have to walk you through how that works. Okay, let's get that out. Okay, so this is the actual world UI. So this is a canvas object that is set to world space. So I know that's crazy and complicated, but I'll show you. It's not really that hard. And then underneath that is just all of its stuff. So really, if you look at it, it's only a couple of things. And then we have the actual model that you display. So it's really not that hard, but there's going to be a ton of stuff underneath this. I just want to warn you that this is going to get crazy, but let's look at just the base level stuff. So again, our whole object here, right? The UI offset base is a child, which is 0 with the look at script. And underneath that is the offset, the WUI offset. And this you put at whatever position you want. And this is where the thing actually moves to. So if I can get a handle to it like that. So this is where it looks at. So above, below, like we talked about, right? Then underneath that is the actual thing, which we'll go over in a second. But before we go that deep, if we back up a bit, you'll see at the same head level as the offset base, because that's still at 0, to our main object, is this other object that is 0, right? And this is called the item holder model. So this is just a container to where you put the model that you want to display, okay? So that's all that is, just another empty object with the model to display. All right, now we're going to get into the crazy stuff. Okay, so again, our object, UI base, offset, and then the actual pickup. The way I did this was I actually made them into two separate things. So you'll notice that when I drag and drop this into the world, this is called Fortnite _ item pickup WUI. So what this is this is the whole widget setup, right? Think of this similar to like a widget in Unreal. So this is a world interface thing. Then when I'm building this, I just put that here underneath the offset, and it's in a container just like the model is in a container here. Okay? Very cool, right? So how do we build this crazy thing here? So let me close up all this stuff and we will go over that. So this thing is built up of lots of UI components. It's really not that hard. It's just a little complex as to the pieces. So let's follow it together. So to create a canvas that you're going to turn into a world space object. So if I just right click here and say UI canvas, you'll notice that normally it does this crazy like huge line because it's dealing with two-dimensional information and how it displays it in a three-dimensional space. However, if you go in here under the canvas in the inspector and change this to say world space, it's now a world space thing. So if I make this 10 by 10, if I make this 0 with a width of 10 by 10, then if you look at it, it's really only this big in the world now. See? So this is how big it is in the world. And anything you add within it is going to be, things that you would display. So if you put an image in here, you could make like a floating image This is great for like holograms and that kind of thing. So we've taken that two-dimensional information and now we're displaying it in a 3D world. So imagine this is just like a giant floating thing. Here, I'll show you if we just add a quick, image to it, right? And I have to make it smaller than that initial thing, so 8 by 8. So there you go. Now I have this giant floating holographic thing. And if I just hit play and run around it, you'll see it there, just kind of floating in space. There it is, okay? So that's what we're creating, is 2D information floating in 3D space. So hopefully that helps to understand that. So that's how you create your canvas. So that's what this whole object is. I just named it FN item pickup WUI. See, it's a canvas. You can't really tell. Oh, it's a canvas, see? And then I set it to world space. That's all I did. 0, 0, 0, and the height and width, the width is 1.25 and the height is 0.25. And I have this little script here that I'm going to put, this is not a script, but this is just a notepad thing that I'm going to put with it, which this has all of the numbers I'm going to go over here, okay? So you can just follow along, okay? So I'm going to include this. So I'm going to talk about it kind of fast, but then I will include this for your lookup later. So this is our canvas object, and it's 1.25 by 0.25. That's it. That's all you got to do to this guy. Cool. So underneath that, I'm going to create two panels. So if we go to my canvas object here, and I say right-click, UI, panel, that's what I'm creating here. And you'll see here it looks kind of funny, and you can change the background image and all that kind of stuff. But oh no, I'm sorry. I don't create a panel just yet. That's my mistake. These are just empty game objects because what we need to do here is we need to make sure we have these containers. So see how it says content left, content right? So you just right click here and say create empty, and see here it'll do that for you. So I'm going to zero those out, and then you make it the same height and width. So for example, this guy here is our canvas, and the two children objects, I called them content left, content right. You'll notice they're both still 0, 0, 0, 1.25, 0.25. And that is correct over here. So you'll be able to follow this and you'll be able to see all that. See, we're right here. And it's not a panel. I will correct that. I apologize. So there you go. So these are just empty objects to hold things. Same two things. Okay, so content left, we're going to get into the meat of it now. Under content left, we do have an actual image. So I call this left background image. Okay. And what this is this actual frame here. This frame, not the F. If I hide this, see that goes away. Okay. So this is an image, and again, 0, 0, 0, 1.25, 0.25. That keeps making everything exactly this space, and that means that all the images will line up. The images I've given you here are designed to line up with those numbers there, okay? You can change the size, you'll have to change your image. So when you create an image, so here we'll go under this game object, right? We're going to create a UI image. So right here, raw image, where we at? Right there, like that. So there you go. It's like, okay, give me a picture. How big do you want me to be? Well, you're 10 by 10, so we're going to fill that space. And then any picture we drag in here, so I just drag and drop this in here, it will now display it. Now, obviously, these numbers are wrong. That's why it's stretching it here. But here, you can see it's putting it right in this space, okay? So that's this guy, the left here. So FN pickup key frame. So that's the key, and it's the frame around the key that you're going to press to pick it up. All right, very good. Now, before we go underneath its contents, let's do the right-hand side, and we'll kind of work our way back and forth. Let's do the left, finish it out. So under the left, we have two text objects we need to create, and these are going to be the nice Pro, Text Mesh Pro. So if you right-click on the image and say UI, Text Mesh Pro text, there you go. It looks like this over here. You got all these settings and everything. Very cool. And this is just a really fancy way to have really nice, crisp, clean text, okay? So that's really all that it does. It's really nice and clean even when you get really close to it. So that's the whole point of this stuff. So I'm going to create two of those, and the one I'm going to call underscore pickup BTN text, pickup button text. And it's going to go right here, and I've got all the numbers for it here, and again, all the numbers for it here. Oops, let's not do that. Sorry about that. Let me make sure everything's still running for the recording. Okay, there we go. I waved it around too much and Windows did its thing. So here, pickup button text. I have all the numbers for where it's going to go. And then here, you just put whatever letter you want to show up. So I change that to A, you can see there, B, C, whatever you want. I changed it to F because that's what I have it marked for me in Fortnite. It's F to pick up. Okay, so that's there. And then all these settings, again, I'll have in this text document for you too. But we're going to choose the Anton SDF, sorry. The first one on the list when you go to the list. I just like the nice, crisp, clean look to it. We're going to set the font size to 1, the color to white, and then these alignments, I chose the center and center. That combined with the settings we're going to do up here will make it fit in this space. So these settings are pretty crazy here because I had to crunch it down. Your X position is negative 0.505, Y position is 0.0535, height and width is 0.125 to make it small enough to fit in here, and our scale is 0.095 on all 3 axes. And when you do all of that, it will line up right in the center there. Perfect. All right, the underscore text pickup is another thing, and this is just the words pickup, right? And again, this has very similar settings here. Negative 0.505, 0.0285, negative for the Y. But the width and height are different. So the width here is 3.5. Height is 0.25, and then our scale is 0.065 for all 3. Again, the Anton, I did bold this one, font size of 1, and again, center and center. And that's going to give us our text there. Okay, so that works nicely. Now, with those 2 done, I'm going to collapse the left and let's go work on the right, okay? So under content right, we're going to do another image. This one is called FN Pickup Tooltip Background Fade. And then you can give it a color. And any color you give it, doesn't matter which one you start with, it's going to be overwritten by our code anyway. But this means that the actual image we supply, you see it here, is white. And it will go from white and it will fade to just a very light gray to give you kind of a taper. And the way that this color works is it sort of does like a multiply. So anything we choose will be nicely gradated because we started with white. So that's the whole idea there. Again, 000, width of 1.25, height of 0.25. Again, we'll have all the settings, no worries. So again, underneath that object, we need a couple of texts. We need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 texts. So here you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 texts. Okay? And there's additional one underneath the amount because we actually need the little X. So these are all just texts again, and I'll have all the settings for you. I don't want to bore you with all of these, but we're just going to be setting all of these texts, and you have to name them properly because we're going to be calling them in code. But again, I'll be giving you all that, so don't worry about that. We have the text type. Text item name is down here. It's much bigger. Text rarity is up here. Text spacer, this is literally just this little spacing icon here. And again, in the future version of the code for the final, paid asset, whatever we create, I would make this dynamic to the size of this, that it would kind of move and shrink with everything. Text amount is going to be over here, and that's the actual numbers. Text amount X is just the little X there. Okay, so that's it for that guy, and that's all just to create the widget, all right? So we did the widget, we did the holder, and you just put whatever model you want in there. Now, we need the 2 bits of code to make everything work, right? So for the UI offset, the base, we have the look at script. We already went over that. But for the actual whole object to get all of this to work, we need to get our scripting going for the FN item manager. And that's what's going to control all of this stuff for us, all right? Now, one final thing we do need to do, let's not forget, is here you see we do have a box collider on this. And if you look at that, so this is the range in which you'll be able to walk up to it, and then this will appear. Ultimately, what I want to do is create this cone of vision type thing off of the character so that you can identify which one am I looking at, so that when you have things that are close to each other, for example, these 3 guys, there is a potential theoretical spot I could stand in the middle here and be looking at all 3. So what happens when I press the F key then? Which one do I pick up? So we need to make sure that we take that into account in the coding in a future version of this, okay? Or that's a nice challenge for you guys. Help me figure out a good solution for that, all right? So, box collider, we're going to add that to this object. So on your base object here, you just add component, and you can even type it in here, box collider, have it show up, click that. And what I have this set for currently is on the center 0.25, so it comes up out of the ground a little bit because the way that I had my ground plane. And I have it set to a size of 3 by 0.5 by 3. So it's quite a large distance that you can walk up to this, because I just wanted to make sure you could see it there. All right, enough dilly-dallying. Let's get to the script and figure out how it controls all of this. So I bring up the controller script here, and yes, it's quite large, but don't worry. Let's see, we're at 121 lines. You don't even need that last line. So it's not that bad. A couple things I'm going to show you, which are really cool. To get these bold text here, that's what's called a header. So this first line here, on line 9 rather. So to get that bold to show up, you type this here, the header, and again, this will be in the script and everything, but header, and then you just put in what you want it to call it in the middle here, in between the parens. And what's really neat about this is it's a great way to sort of organize your code over here. Now, at the very top, I do want to mention, you might not see this when you download the script, is we are doing 2 additional usings, these include functions. So the Unity engine.ui, we need to add that, and then using TM Pro, and that's to access the text of the Text Mesh Pro objects. All right, so let's work our way down. So in the pickup item tooltip parameters, we need a public string for the item name, public string for the item type, and then here we're going to create our drop-down list. So to create a drop-down, it's called an enum. So you do public enum, and then the name. So this is called item rarity enum, right? And then in brackets here, you just list off, comma delimited, all the different things you want available in the drop-down. So I have common, uncommon, rare, epic, legendary, and mythic, because those are the ones that are in Fortnite. Then you immediately after that declare the actual name of what you want it to be called. So for example, we called this item rare enum. Okay, that's the variable name in the background that we're going to call. But what do we want this to say here for the people who are looking at it, right? Well, the way we call that is, here we've kind of defined it. And then here I'm going to say public item rarity enum, this thing, and call it item rarity. And that's what actually makes it show up here. So all of this is just sort of like setting it up. And then this is actually showing it here, okay? Then to define these color things, they're super easy. It's just a public color and then the name that you want to appear here. Super easy. So I made one for each of the things I have here so that you can go ahead and set these up ahead of time. Public string for the item amount is right here. And then a public string for the pickup button text. So the actual text, A, B, C, F, whatever you want people to be able to click to pick up the object. So we have another header here for our setup parameter. So there are 2 things that we do need to kind of drag and drop into here ahead of time to make sure that our object knows what's going on. The first is a public game object to the tooltip widget, and that's this guy here. So in our object here, what I did was I took one of these widget things and dragged it in here. See, just like that. So when we created the first one, we created just this thing with the canvas. When you're all done with it, click and drag it into here to create a prefab of it. And then when you're creating your final object like this guy, and you get to that point where you need to put it in here, okay? Well, when you put it here, let's see, right there, yeah. When you put it in here, and you have the script applied, all you have to do is then just click and drag and set it up here. All set, nice and easy. The other thing we have to do is here a public raw image for the item background. So the actual background image that you're going to be using, you put it in there so you can get a handle to it. And that has to be the actual background. So we go to the right background image, this guy. So you just drag that over here like that. Okay? And that way, oops, no, I did not mean to do that. Let's not do that. Yeah, we don't need that. Thank you. And fly that sniper. There we go. So when you drag and connect that in there, now it has a handle to it, because an object like this that has so many children and is such a grandparent object, it's very difficult to find it in code. So we just kind of cheat a little bit and say, here's a shortcut to you. Okay, so with all of that done, we have a couple of private variables. And this is just connecting to everything inside of this that we've already done. So all of these are, this is an array of objects to get all of our texts. And I'm going to say, what's the pickup button, what's the item type, what's the name, the rarity, the amount. Then, right when we start the game, I'm going to say, hey, go ahead and find for me all the children objects that have a text mesh pro. So find all the texts and put them into this group called texts. Then I'm going to loop through all the texts, and I'm going to say, based upon the name that shows up in the text, so based upon this name, text type, text item name, that kind of thing, I want you to do different things. So if it's the pickup button text, okay, then I want this variable to be equal to that thing you just found, and then take that thing's text and set it to this thing that I set up already. So for example, we're going through all of the text objects and saying, oh, you found one that is called pickup button text? Okay. I have a variable that I've already made right here, pickup button, that is a text. And I'm going to say, you're now equal to the thing that you found. Okay, now access your text property, which is the actual text here that shows up, and set it equal to what the user has told us to use up here. Let's see, right here, pickup button text. So we're just kind of reaching in and setting each of these things. So for the type, there we go, for the name. Now the rarity is something different. The rarity, we're actually going to change, let's see, item rarity toString, yeah. So the item rarity we're going to set differently, so we'll come back to that. For the text amount, same thing. Now, for the rarity, we're going to get the actual string name of what we've set there in the rarity, okay? Because this is the string from an enum. So our enum here, so it's actually going to get these actual words here instead of the text, because there's not really text, so we're getting the actual words from this. Now we're going to treat it as text here so that we can then put it through another switch statement to say, okay, based upon that, if you find the word common, then change the background color of the item background to the common, which relates to this color, okay? So it's going to say, if you found common, change it to the common color. Uncommon, rare, epic, all the others. Cool. Once you're all done with all the setup, I want you to set the activeness of this widget to false. I want you to turn it invisible in the scene. It's not just invisible, it's actually not doing anything. Then, the final little bit here is that, remember how we had that box collider? Let's go back and look at that guy. This guy here, one very important thing to make this work. If you don't click this button, you won't be able to walk over this. It'll actually block you. Check this box that says is trigger. So now with that, we can access whether or not you're in that box. So on trigger enter, we're going to say, hey, if the thing that has entered us has a tag that equals player, so if they're the player, then show us the widget. And then I have a little debug message here saying show, just to make sure we see it. Then if we leave the box and it's the player that has left the box, so not some other random object, then set it to false again, so turn it invisible again. Okay, I know that was a lot, and I'm sorry I even fumbled a little bit through it, but I wanted to make sure you guys understood exactly how to create this. And if you have any problems, please let me know. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to try to export this as a Unity package. All the stuff I have here in the Fortnite pickups folder, and I'll supply that as well. And you should be able to just directly import that into your scene. So actually get some of these pre-built items I have here. So again, let's take a look at it and just reiterate how it all is working. So when I walk away from the sniper rifle, it's not showing the widget now, even though it's still there. If I pause this and we go in and look at it, this guy here, you'll see that he's unchecked. If I check this, it will show up in the world. So he's unchecked. He's there. He exists, but he's just not actively doing something in the scene. Now, when I go into that range of this box here, then we do something and we show up and we have all of the changes here. Now, one thing to note, you can't make changes here in real time because it's not actually running in the update. So I can't, for example, go here and change this to A and change this to 5 and change the common and change the name of it to just a sniper, right? Even if I make all those changes and I hit continue, notice none of that took effect. And why is that? Because all of that is in the start, which means it's only when I start the game's already running and I just paused it, I didn't start it over again. So for example, if I stop it, and here, let's just call this sniper rifle, right? It's a ranged weapon. Let's just call it uncommon now. And I'll change this back to F. So now with those changes made and I rerun the game now when I walk up to it, see, it's changed all of that stuff to what I just changed because it's only running at start. It's not running constantly, which is good because these things are computationally intensive. You don't want to have like thousands of them, but if you have a bunch of items next to each other, it shouldn't be a problem to have these show up. And this guy's showing up constantly because he is just one that I brought into the world as an example, and there's no code hooked up to him. Okay? So with those things, you should be all set. So what you've got here is you have 2 scripts, one to make the constantly facing the camera thing happen. You have the other script that actually controls all of this, which is pretty cool. I think this is awesome. I'm very happy with this. You have a couple of textures. You're going to have the one that is just this outline thing and the 2 variants here for whether or not you want this to be faded or solid. And then you're going to have also the list of settings. I'm going to finish that out for you. You have the list of settings. And if you guys have any questions, as always, please ask. And I'm going to try to save all of this as a asset pack for you so you can download and install the asset pack. So the way to do that is when I'm all done with all this, you'll have all of these things all set up and say, you've got your folder here and you say, okay, I want to bring everything in. You'll just right click and you'll say import package. There you go, something like that. And you'll say custom package. And then you just point to where it is and choose it, okay? So that's what I'm going to choose. And let me show you my version of Unity right here is 2017.3.0 F3 personal. So if you have that version or later, I think you'll be fine. If you have a previous version, that might not work, but with this tutorial and with the scripts and everything and with my help, we'll get it running for you, okay? So I wanted to make sure you guys had as much as possible because I know this is complex. Now, granted, they show up and nothing happens when you press the button yet. That's coming next week or the week after. We're still working on that, but we're going to do the whole animated thing where it pops up and kind of like shrinks and comes into you and all that, and then eventually an inventory and all that. But wanted to kind of switch it up a little bit this week and show you. I've been playing some Fortnite, learning the game, and I wanted to show you some of the things that we've been able to create on that front. So I hope you guys have enjoyed very much. If you have any questions at all, please let me know. I'm happy to help. I do want you guys to take this and explore and run with it. If you have really basic questions, try to Google it first. And, if you have trouble, let me know and I'll work through with you some of the more detailed things. But if it's simple things like, how do I make a new scene? Please try to do some research ahead of time because that helps me focus on helping the users who are having more complex problems. Okay. So as a team, we'll get it done. I want you guys to have awesome stuff. So until next time, guys, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.